Hi everybody, welcome back to John's Firearms 705. Today's video we're going to be taking a look at the disassembly and reassembly of the Ruger 1022 bolt. As always, before you work on any firearms, make sure you check safe clear them, pull out any magazine if it is fixed with a detachable magazine, cycle the action a few times, make sure there's any shells in there get ejected, check your chamber, your feed path, your magazine well, make sure your firearm is unloaded. That being said, you can see one of my other videos on how to disassemble the Ruger 1022 to get to the bolt. And also, I would also suggest before working on any firearms project, there's a chance for springs and stored energy. You may wish to wear some eye protection. So that's being said, to tear down the bolt for the Ruger 1022, we're going to need a 5/32 punch, a hammer, and something that has a point on the end that we're going to be using to hold back the spring for the plunger and the plunger spring for the extractor unit. So first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pop out this pin here. It's a 5/32 punch. You're going to want to come in from the side that has this little divot here. Okay, and when you punch your pin, you don't need to go all the way out. It's a bit of a horse to get back in. That should be far enough there. When we pull it out, keep your thumb on top and behind the firing pin. And your firing pin is going to want to come back a little bit. It's not very much pressure. Now to get it out, we simply lift up a little bit and pull back. Once that's out, inside this groove here, I don't know if we can see it. Let's see here. There's a little wee spring in there. So when we tip this upside down, this little wee spring is going to come out, okay? And depending on how yours is, there's this little hole on the side, this little pin. Mine, it just rolls out. What that does is it goes through the side, ends up in the groove, and it gives that little spring something to rest up on. And then when your firing pin is in there and it comes down, the back of the spring, of course, rests up in here. So that gives you the backward force to reset your firing pin away from the bolt face. Okay, so that's out. We got the pin out. We got that little wee tiny spring out. Again, I don't pull the roll pin all the way out just because it's a bit of a pain to get back in. Now the only other thing to take out here is our extractor. Okay, to get that out, if you look in this little channel, there's a little plunger right here, okay? And it's on top of a spring that goes in about to here, and it's under quite a bit of force. Now all we need to do is simply stick, I use these scissors, in between the edge of the plunger and the edge of your extractor, and pull this all the way back, holding it till you're past the circle. And once you've done that, you should be able to just tip it, and your extractor should fall out. And you're also going to want to keep your fingers around the end here for when we release the plunger to catch it all. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what the parts look like. Okay, so our little extractor dropped out there. And inside, I'll just slowly release the pressure. There's our little wee tiny plunger. And then the spring comes out. Okay. That's pretty much it. You got your bolt body. Still got the one roll pin in there. Got our firing pin. Have our little wee extractor. And of course you got the roll pin for your firing pin return spring. Firing pin return spring right here. Of course you got your extractor plunger spring. Extractor plunger. So, reassembly, we'll start over here on the extractor side. I simply drop in the spring, just like that. Take your plunger, drop it in there. Okay, so we have our spring and our plunger in here. So now, all we got to simply do is if you look at your extractor, look at the shape of it here. hold out some tweezers here. So here's the little end that grabs our bullet and pulls it back. On the other side here, this little part that drops down, inside here where the hole is, right there, this plunger drops into it. And then on the top side here, that's where that plunger that we put in with the spring catches onto, which gives it the spring force necessary to be in place to remove your projectile, or your casing rather, as well as enough spring to bend up out of the way when the ejector spits it out. So let's go ahead and put this in. It's real easy. Like I say, we have the spring in here, we have the plunger. Simply take your extractor by this end. So you got this little nub down. Start it into the channel right here. Simply push it in. Put your finger on the top. Oops, popped out on me here. Try to start that over. Get it started. Finger on the top. Simply push it the rest of the way in. And you're in there. Firing pin, first thing we're going to do is take this little roll pin, throw it in here, throw it in the hole. Then on the top side, we're going to take our little spring and drop it behind that pin. Okay. Once you have it in there, you want to take a look inside and just move it up so it bumps up against that little pin we put in. Don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. So it just drops in there and sits on that pin. Okay, and then the firing pin, if you notice on the top side of the bolt here, there's these two little dimples. Now what that does is it prevents the front end of the firing pin from popping up. See, if we stick that in there, the firing pin won't clear it, you can't come down on the top. So you got to put it underneath, bring it forward, lower your firing pin so that the back side of it catches that spring, and then simply you can go forward. You'll feel the little spring catch it. Now the right spot I find to have this, to be able to put our pin back in, our roll pin, is I simply hold this in as far as it goes on the back, hold this down level like that, and then bring the pin back home. All right, put in the rest of the way. There we go. Disassembly and reassembly. Your Ruger 1022 bolt. You can test your little function. You can press your firing pin, make sure it goes forward all the way. Returns properly. Yep, we're good there. Check our extractor. Yep, we're good to go. Okay guys, so there it is. It's pretty simple. Ruger 1022 bolt, firing pin, disassembly, reassembly. As always, have fun, peace out, be safe. We'll see you at the range.